This is how you can turn one emoji into $50 by simply dropping an emoji in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our 6 NFL picks for these conference championship games in the NFL. If these picks do go 6-0, and you've dropped a emoji in the comments, then you may just win $50 here. Now, before we get started with these picks, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Also hit that notification bell because we are dropping videos daily, and we want to make sure you're getting some of the best bets out here. Also, speaking of free money, look in the description below. You will find our X profile down there where, again, we are posting all of these picks daily for you. Also down there, you will find one of the best positive EV betting tools for daily grind fantasy. They have created such a strong community where they are generating multiple users who are using the exact same method and finding themselves out on top with all green slips on a daily basis. So maybe if you go ahead and drop an emoji in the comments, we may just pay for your first month of daily grind fantasy, if that's how you choose to use your money. If not, though, so be it. But let's go ahead and jump into these 6 picks. Dalton will be kicking it off for us. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, so for my first player prop bet in this championship series, I have Lamar Jackson going over 1.5 touchdown passes. This is currently a demon bet on PrizePicks, and I think this is this is something that can be very easily done with Lamar Jackson. First off, history's been on his side this season. Jackson's arm has just been on fire, delivering at least 1 touchdown pass in over 3/4 of the games he's played. That's 12 out of the last 16 games that he's found the end zone through the air. But he's not just checking off the minimum. He's actually doubling down with multiple touchdowns in nearly half of those games. And that's 7 to be exact. Now, let's talk about performance under pressure. The Chiefs are going to be blitzing pretty heavily, I would think, especially considering the fact under their defense coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. But Jackson thrives in the face of adversity. He's been cool, calm, and collected in the pocket. He's actually one of the best when it comes to that. But he's also facing the 3rd lowest pressure rate among quarterbacks. His line has just been phenomenal this year. And he just knows how to escape the pocket and then also throw on the run. So, and it's not just good, but he's elite. He's trailing Patrick Mahomes himself in just PFF grading when under duress. So he's very well, doing very great under duress and when he is pressured. So, but digging deeper, we've seen Jackson go up against the toughest of tough, the 5th hardest NFL schedule to be precise. So this isn't just an easy matchup. He's seen tough defenses, and the Kansas City Chiefs are a very tough defense. But he's seemed to just find ways to thrive in these type of games. So his stats against playoff teams are nothing short of stellar, boasting a completion rate of almost 71% and an average of 2.5 touchdown passes per game. So those numbers just to me don't suggest consistency, but they scream clutch performer. And here's the clincher, guys. We're gonna get Mark Andrews back on the field. We're expecting him to be back. He isn't just any tight end. He's Jackson's favorite target. He's a red zone threat that's been sorely missed this season since week 11 when he had I believe it was an ankle injury. And so to me, that just means one thing. It's going to be more touchdowns. It's going to be better efficiency in the red zone. So that's kind of why I'm liking this player prop bet this week. And let's just not overlook the fact that in his last 5 games, Jackson's ramped up his game, tossing 13 touchdown passes, and he's coming off a divisional round where he tops his projected touchdown passes against Houston. So the momentum is there. I like it, and it's building going into this matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So when you put it all together, the history, the performance under pressure, the return of his top target, Mark Andrews, and the current momentum, I think the 1.5 touchdown passes should be very easily achieved. And I like it even more because it is a demon bet this week. So I'm all about it. For my next player prop bet, it's going to be with the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Detroit Lions. And I'm going with another quarterback this week, and that's Brock Purdy going over 273.5 pass yards. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the picture right now. Guys, the Detroit Lions defense is like a dam holding back a river. It's got leaks. They're the NFL's 27th ranked pass defense, and they're giving up a hefty 248 pass yards per game. So if you're a quarterback, to me, that's like ringing the dinner bell. And if we flip the field to the other side with Brock Purdy, he's sitting pretty comfortably at at number 3 in passing touchdowns with 48, and he's the 4th ranked quarterback in both passing yards with 6,547 and a completion percentage at a surgical 68.1%. So to me, I think that he's sitting very well coming into this game. And then again, guys, if I'm not mistaken, he was an MVP candidate. He was competing for the MVP with Lamar Jackson. So to me, I just feel like going with both these quarterbacks in prime times to me this week just seems like it just makes sense. And so, and let's talk about the matchup too with the Lions defense. They haven't just been generous on the defense side of the ball; it's been downright charitable in the past 5 games. They've coughed up more than 340 pass yards in each, and not just to elite throwers, but to Nick Mullins, and not just once, but twice. They gave up 411 yards in week 16 to him, and then he replicated that feat with 396 yards in week 18. So the odd makers currently have the line set for Purdy, but to be honest, I think it's laughably low after the Lions just got shredded by Baker Mayfield last week for 349 yards. And to
And they're
me, it's
still biting off kneecaps, baby. Dan Campbell said it the best.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, their defensive line is doing great. I have to admit, especially what they have in Aiden Hutchinson, but still their secondary is just being completely shredded. So they to me they look highly vulnerable. And with Purdy, he's got a fully loaded arsenal at his disposal with Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, and the highly versatile Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. So here's the call. Brock Purdy is not just going to exceed his 273.5 pass yards. I'm predicting that he's going to clear 300 yards against the Lions with his weaponry and the Lions' leaky pass defense. It's not just a possibility to me. I think it's a betting man's dream. So this NFL championship could very well turn into a Brock Purdy show. And I'm just want to say, you've heard it here first. I think he's going to absolutely shred this Lions defense and go north of 300 yards. I think very easily. So yes, I'm going over on both the 1.5 passing touchdowns for Lamar Jackson, and I'm going over on the passing yards for Brock Purdy this week. So that's everything that I have for us. So DJ, who do you have for your current player prop picks this week?
Yeah, so for my first one, I have George Kittle going over 60.5 receiving yards. So he currently doesn't have any history versus the Detroit Lions this season. They didn't have any head-to-head matchups. So this is the very first time that they are seeing each other. Now, in terms of positive EV, we can see that Daily Grind Fantasy is currently offering this line at 50.5% chance of hitting with an average juice of minus 117 for major sports books. So this definitely is not great odds. You're really getting kind of that 50-50 split amongst that positive EV line. So it really can go either way in terms of their numbers. Now, where I do like him is if we look at his recent performances and how he's performed in these last 5 and last 10 games, he has hit this over in 3 out of his last 5 and 7 out of his last 10. Now, if we're looking at how he's performed in home games this year, he has hit 5 out of his last 5 and 7 out of the 8 total home games this year. So he's found a way to be very dominant in home games this year. And again, versus this Detroit defense and looking at how they are in rankings, right now, Detroit allows the 11th most pass attempts and 6th most passing yards. So again, I think that they're going to have plenty of opportunities to have the ball in the air versus this Detroit Lions team who can be stingy at times. But that's the way that I feel that you're going to have to beat him, is getting these playmakers involved. Debo Samuel, as we mentioned earlier, is expected to be back, but we don't know at what capacity. So he obviously wasn't good enough to return in the divisional round, but now he's came back. He's had roughly a week of rest. So anyways, with that kind of lingering issue, I think that, again, you have to depend on these playmakers, and George Kittle, I like it going over 16.5 receiving yards. Now, for my second bet, I have Zay Flowers going under 4.5 receptions. Again, doesn't really have any history versus this Kansas City team. This is their first head-to-head matchup this year. Looking at his recent performances and how he's done, again, in his last 3 and his last 5 and last 10 matchups, he has hit 3 out of his last 5 and 5 out of his last 10. But during those last 10 matchups, we saw that 3 of them were hooks, meaning he had 5 receptions in those 3 games that went over. So he was very close from moving that 5 out of his last 10 to 8 out of his last 10. Now, if we look at also the last 16 receivers that had faced this Kansas City Chiefs defense, 14 out of those 16 wide receivers have hit their under on their receptions line. So that means that since week 14, 88% of the wide receivers that face this Kansas City Chiefs defense have hit the under on their receptions. And that is mainly due to the fact that Kansas City allows the 10th least passing attempts in all of the NFL. Now, I think like Dalton had mentioned earlier, with the addition of Mark Andrews coming back, and then honestly how this Baltimore offense is ran, very run heavy. If they find a way to get a lead early on this very vulnerable Chiefs team this year, then I don't think that there will be a lot of passes going Zay Flowers' way. Anyways, those are my 2 picks, and I'm going to kick it to Nathan so that way he can end it off for us.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. For my first pick, I'm going to go with a very safe bet, one I think that's going to hit. I'm going to go with the man, the myth, the legend, and the GOAT himself, the one and only Justin Tucker, boys. I'm going Justin Tucker for over 1.5 field goals made. I think this is going to be a good game. I do think that there will be times where the Chiefs defense, that's been the best part of this football team all year, is that Chiefs defense. And I believe that they will be able to stop the Ravens a couple times in the red zone and force the Ravens to kick a field goal. Plus, not to mention, if they're at midfield, they're not going to punt the ball. They're just going to kick a 60-yarder with Justin Tucker. I like my chances. So I think that's just a no-brainer. Anytime I ever see Justin Tucker on there for 1 field goal or 1.5 field goal, I'm taking it just because of how automatic he is. I just feel like it's a easy no-brainer and an easy lock for me. That's what I have for the AFC Championship game. Let's jump over to the NFC Championship game. I believe in the NFC Championship game that if you do not live in San Francisco, California, pretty sure everybody else in America is going for the Detroit Lions. Because it would be really cool to see them go to the Super Bowl. I think that would be really cool to see. I know that DJ and Dalton have covered this game pretty heavily, and everyone's riding with the 49ers heavily. I might want to pump the brakes a little bit because everybody went with the 49ers heavily against the Packers too. And let's be honest, they're one mistake away from this being a Detroit Lions Green Bay Packers NFC Championship game because San Francisco better thank their lucky stars because they got bailed out. But anyways, I'm going to go with Sam Laporta for over 47.5 receiving yards. I know he's a little banged up, but I really like the way that Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions offense has been playing in the playoffs. They have been really, really well, and they have stepped up and when they've needed to. They've stepped up and made the plays that they need to make. But when you go back and you watch those games, the vocal point of that offense, they get Sam Laporta to the football. And the past couple of games here in the playoffs, I really like the way they've utilized him and the way they've spread the offense out and got him the football. So for me, I feel like this is a no-brainer in order to keep drives alive and to score points. I think they're going to try to work the same way this week against San Francisco and getting Sam Laporta the football and just trying to get the ball so they're playmakers. So that way they have the best chance to beat the 49ers on the road in the NFC Championship game. That's all I have for my picks. Thank y'all for tuning in for this episode, and we'll kick it over to DJ for close it out.
Absolutely. And guys, all I've got to say is make sure you're dropping that emoji in the comments because I want to hand out some free money, and that's as simple as it is. Let us know how we should be feeling or maybe how you are feeling about these 6 picks. That's all we're looking for. Simple as that. And if this goes 6-0, you just may have won yourself 50 free bucks. And we'll see. Got to have that Venmo or Cash App or Zelle or whatever you got. We'll figure it out on our end.
Or a shoebox like I got in my closet.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know how we do that, but
groceries are expensive.
We'll let Nathan figure that out. Amen to that.
I'm going to use your address.
Best of luck to y'all. Let's go 6-0. Let's hand out some free money. See y'all next time.
Rod the pond, baby.
Pleasure riding pine, boys.